Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasati.
Hare Krishna, welcome. We're continuing Bhagavad-gita. We're in the second chapter where Arjuna's questions and doubts are leading up to Krishna's instructions in spiritual life and pretty much everything else I was almost saying. I didn't mean to say everything else. I mean to say that those questions that Arjuna bring up, they are shown from all angles, all around. So today we are mostly on the social responsibility level, and those are valid levels, but Bhagavad-gita will continue after those. Yes, I'm reading text 6 in the second chapter, Bhagavad-gita as it is, contents of the Gita summarized. I will read the Sanskrit also. Na chaitadvidma katarano gariyo yadva yayema yadiva no jayeyuhu yan eva hatva na jijivishamas tevastita pramukhe dhartarastraha. Translation, still Arjuna speaking. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of sustenance. Nor was there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them, and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely proved that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Lord Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Yes. So the situation here is not just, okay, if I don't fight the battle, I'll do something else. No, in this society, if you're a Kshatriya, and that is your duty, and that is your life, if you give it up, you have nothing. But sometimes we are faced with a situation where nothing is better than something that we feel is very wrong. This happens sometimes. We are faced with such wrongness that we have to step up, we have to speak up, we have to do something. Arjuna here is feeling that sense of wrongness, but he doesn't feel fully confident that his reasoning is valid or is good enough or is complete, because in either case it will be a terrible situation. So here, this is interesting. In some of the purports, Krishna is saying, this is just the weakness of heart. Give it up. And here, Prabhupada is saying this shows the good qualities of Arjuna, because knowledge is not just a question of reading something in a book and knowing it, or having some technical education so that we can handle certain things, machines, buildings, so many things we need to know something. But real knowledge is of a spiritual variety, and it's not just memorizing instructions. It has to do with our qualities, with our heart. And these qualities here, knowledge and devotion. Without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. That is an interesting conclusion from this type of a verse. It's not just a question of, oh, I don't want to kill my family, and oh, I don't want to lose my livelihood. Those are big enough questions. We know that when we sometimes are faced with how to support our family, how to organize our lives. It keeps us awake at night. We don't know what to do about them. But ultimately, how to realize our eternal spiritual nature is a bigger question. And that question is actually within the scope of the discussing liberation. So there we need to have not just the practical knowledge, not just the technical knowledge, but we need to actually know. Arjuna says, nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them, because both of them were terrible. So he realized, I cannot make this choice. So I will read the next verse here, text 7. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava Pritchami tvang dharma samurdha chetaha yat shreyasya nishchitang bruhitan me sisyastehang sadhimang tvang prapannam. Now I am confused about my duty, and I have lost all composure because of my silly weakness. In this condition I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Now we're getting to the core. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Yes, so this is it's a pivotal verse. It's a verse where everything turns. Arjuna has some doubts. He has some confusion. He has some fear. And the conclusion to this is not to just barge ahead, and it's not to run away. It's to approach someone who has that knowledge. Now I am confused about my duty, and I'm asking you to tell me for certain I am your disciple. This is a very important step in life. It's a very necessary step in life, and it's not a step to be taken lightly or whimsically. We can only turn to somebody who we do trust because they have earned our trust. And Krsna here is the perfect example, of course. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and every other spiritual master, every other bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krsna. So, yes, Prabhupada brings up the example of a forest fire. Of course, we do hear about forest fire that start because somebody sets the forest on fire, but it's quite common that you find in dry climates where the branches are rubbing together, creating some sparks, and everything being hot and dry, the sparks turning into fire, and there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot go there with a little bucket of water because the fire is enormous. And that is a little bit the situation in this material world. we cannot step outside of the material world. We're in this body, we're in this world, and when we die, the soul enters another body, and we cannot solve this problem. And therefore, we need to turn to somebody who has that ability, who has that, Krishna speaks about the necessity of this disciplic succession of the spiritual master. The real qualification of the spiritual master is, of course, that he is devoted and realized in his spiritual Krishna consciousness, but also that he is a disciple. He has a spiritual master, and he has learned from him, and his spiritual master has given him this realization, and therefore he can give it to the next person. So, yes, it is a very important step to come to the point where we realize that we are confused by the perplexities of this world. It's equally important to take the next step, to sincerely look for a spiritual master. And the Bhagavad-gita will equip us with the knowledge to do so, and to not get sidetracked or well, if we don't have the knowledge, if we don't know enough what we are looking for, then anyone can come and say, I'm the spiritual master. But no, we learn from the pages of the Bhagavad-gita what a spiritual master, what are his qualifications. So we will read on. What is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows: Yova etad aksharangargya viditva smallokat praitisa kripana. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problem of life as a human, and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs, without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is the most valuable assets for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize his body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharangargi viditva smalokat praitisa brahmana. Yes. We understand from the Bhagavad-gita that we are not this body, that we are the soul within the body, and the body is conditioned by this world. It will take birth, it will grow old, it may become diseased, and it will certainly die. And now we have the opportunity to do something about it. This soul sometimes takes birth as a human being, and sometimes takes birth in other bodies that are not human. And they live, we see them. We see the cats and the dog. We are quite close to the cats and the dogs. We see horses and maybe elephants, wild animals in the forest. They have many similarities to us. They want to eat, they want to sleep, they don't want to suffer, they maybe want to protect their families, and so on. And human beings, we do these things too. So therefore we are compared to animals. This is not an offense, this is just a fact. But as human beings, we have the propensity to be more than animals. We have the ability to look into spiritual questions, spiritual realization. And therefore the scriptures here are saying, if we don't utilize this material body, if the only thing we do is making an animal life of higher quality, we have fantastic eating, we have sleeping in houses that are designed to amaze our minds. Defense is there, fear. So animals, they can defend with their claws and teeth, or by running away and hiding behind a tree. But human beings, we create these systems with computers and armies and weapons that are incredible, impressive. But it is just a way of extending the animal propensities. It's nothing special. So the special thing of human life is we have the opportunity to start to ask questions as to our real nature, to start to receive answers about our actual nature, and to take up a practice in life that will put us on the path of spiritual realization. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family members, wife, children and others, on the basis of skin disease, Prabhupada says. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals, who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still, on account of this weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious, and now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master, and the science of Bhagavad-gita. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad-gita. Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad-gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet, foolish, mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishnas within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad-gita. Yes. Yes. Here, Arjuna is becoming very serious. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious. So now Arjuna and Krishna, they have a long-standing relationship of friendly dealings. And here Arjuna comes to the point where he is ready to be very serious and dedicate himself to understanding spiritual life. Of course, we come back to the eternal, disagreement in the Vedic culture. We have the mundane scholars who explain that we don't submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. This is obviously an actual quote. And when we read Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita and we take the explanations of Krishna's Bhagavad-gita, then Prabhupada has no time for that sort of foolishness, because it is a distraction. The actual spiritual point here is to understand the personality of Godhead, and no amount of word jugglery will change that. So very quickly, Prabhupada cuts to the point, brings us back to see Krishna as a Supreme Personality. And this very verse, this is where it starts, the relationship between disciple and spiritual master, which is one of the key points of the teachings of the Bhagavad-gita. Yeah, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam